This episode,
our Captain Black Friday event is ending.
There's felony afoot in the randomizer.
and it's one from the archives for this week's interview
That's all coming up in Pod 77.
of the Gerry Anderson podcast.
Let's get started. Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
The Gerry Anderson Podcast with Jamie Anderson and Richard James.
Hello, Podsterons.
Hello, Podsterons.
This is the voice of Jamie.
And this is the voice of Richard.
We should probably stop doing that now.
Yeah,
we're
it's
doing it
hurting a bit,
because it's Captain Black Friday. In fact, it's a bit weird because it's Captain Black Friday weekend, which runs through until today, the Monday of release, which is Cyber Monday, but we sort of call it the Captain Black Friday weekend event.
Yes.
Anyway,
That's great.
we'll talk about that a bit more shortly.
Good.
You're Richard James.
Yes, and you look a little bit like Jamie Anderson.
Yes, I'm actually Moid
Right.
in the disguise of Jamie Anderson. But we are here for the Gerry Anderson podcast.
Yeah.
About probably sort of 90 minutes-ish of Gerry
Yes.
Anderson-related audio goodness for you.
Yeah, we've got lots of stuff coming up. We've got news from the Gerry Anderson universe, of course, because there's always stuff going on. And we've got Chris Dale's randomizer, so we look forward to seeing what he's been up to over the last week, what he's been watching, and what his comments will be. We've got some emails and tweets from our lovely Podsterons. We've got Fab Facts, of course, and the return of the Plot of Peril, whereby I'll be giving you a brand new Plot of Peril to last for the next couple of weeks, and revealing a winner from the last 2 or 3 weeks.
I'm very excited to hear what the plot device comes up with this time, Richard. Can you tell from my voice?
I can tell you're doing something from your voice. Yes, I'm not sure if you're excited, but yeah.
It's a little bit of wind. If you haven't yet subscribed, then, well, if you've been listening for ages and haven't subscribed, then we'd love it if you would just press that button.
Yeah, just takes a moment.
If it's your first time, then, listen on for the rest of the podcast, see if you enjoy it. And if you do enjoy it, then click subscribe then. Thanks very much.
Yes, that'd be nice of you.
Because we fill every week, somehow,
Fill it.
with a certain degree of interesting stuff and some filler.
Yeah, well, that's right. But there's usually 1 or 2 gems, aren't there? Buried somewhere.
You know where you're most likely to find a gem buried, though, Richard?
I walked straight into that, didn't I?
You did. In Fab Facts.
Now, time for this week's Fab Facts.
Right, come on then. Let's see how fab the fact is this week.
Hang on, the facts have been pretty fab for the last few weeks, I would
You're
say.
right. Yes, to give you your fair dues. Yes, that's true.
Thank you, Richard. So, listeners, if you're new to this segment, which maybe you are, we flip through a book, a particular resource, filled with fab facts, facts that are fab. Richard shouts fab as I'm flicking through the pages. We stop at this random location, and then I read a fact out for you.
Yeah.
That's the format. We don't want to mess around with it.
No,
So,
it's classic, isn't it?
without further ado, shall we do that?
Let's do that without further ado.
Okay, Richard, here you go.
Fab!
Interesting.
Oh? Good. That's a good start.
We're in the 80s.
Oh, lovely.
Is that a good place to be?
Yeah, not too bad. The music's better than the 70s.
Okay.
Yeah, where we were last week.
Yes, oh god, where weren't we? We were in the 60s the week before. This is very neat.
Isn't it?
Yeah, you're doing very good calling. So this is about the potential collaboration that could have happened between 2 masters of puppetry.
Oh.
And the fact that it didn't happen meant that you would later get a job, Richard.
Well, I like the sound of that already.
Funny how these things work, isn't it? So, Space Precinct, Richard, which I think you may be aware of, having had, a minor role in said
Just a bit.
series.
Yes.
I mean, you barely mention it, but
No.
it was
Officer Oren.
once. Yeah, yes, all right, Officer Oren. Hubble Oren, yes. Is that Hubble? What a strange first name. Anyway, many years ago, it was called Space Police in its very first incarnation.
That's true.
A pilot film was made, and it was made using a mixture of live action and puppetry and stop motion and miniature effects, really showcasing everything that Anderson and the team could do.
Yeah, that's true.
Many years later, it would be changed in terms of its name because of Lego's Space Police brand and blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
The fundraising and stuff took a very, very long time. But did you know that initially it was going to be a co-production with Jim Henson?
I did not know that.
Well, you now know that,
Yes.
and I'm going to tell you a little bit more.
Oh, great.
So they made the pilot, which, by the way, is available on the Lost Worlds of Gerry Anderson, which is today's daily deal. As part of the Black Friday weekend. That's bizarre. So yes, pop along to the store after that and you can pick up a very cheap copy of The Lost Worlds of Gerry Anderson. But after the pilot was made, they sent a copy to Henson International Television. It was received rather well.
Right.
And Dad and the team had basically said, look, this feels like it could be a really nice opportunity for a co-production or a distribution deal, something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And Jim wrote back through his representatives saying, this is great. I really like it. I feel very sort of warmly towards the idea. So let's see what we can do. So they did an initial letter of agreement, sort of heads of terms thing, to say that Henson International Television would be raising the finance for and distributing the series and probably doing some co-production. And interestingly, Jim had communicated to say, look, I love this, but it's your show, Gerry, and I don't want to interfere. I will be taking a back seat if we're doing this. It's your thing creatively, which is such a lovely thing to do.
Yeah.
Anyway, there was a bit of a shock in terms of news in the industry during proceedings to say that Henson International Television was going to be sold to Disney.
Oh.
And that they thought, well, it's not going to happen now.
Yeah.
So it put the kibosh on it.
Yes.
But even worse, several weeks later, when they thought, well, maybe we can keep this going with Jim directly or something, unfortunately, they got the news that Jim had passed away rather suddenly at just 55.
Yes, that was tragic.
And so that was the end of the potential collaboration between Jim Henson and Gerry Anderson, which would have been fascinating, wouldn't it?
Of course it would. It's interesting how close they got as well, because it is one of those sort of classic combinations you can imagine might have happened in a sort of parallel universe, alongside with with your dad and Ray Harryhausen as well.
Yeah.
They're all sort of part of a similar kind of creative drive, aren't they?
Absolutely. And who knows what would have come of that creative collaboration.
Yes.
And I've got a quote here from Dad saying, I was devastated because my thoughts had been so involved with what had seemed a real possibility of working with Jim. It was a tragedy.
Oh.
So he was clearly very excited by the idea of potentially doing that.
But what you're saying is that if that had happened, there would have been a puppet Officer Orin, and I wouldn't be sitting here with you now doing the Gerry Anderson podcast.
Exactly.
Crikey.
So every cloud has a sort of silver lining, Richard.
Oh, that's lovely. Well done, Jamie. I enjoyed that one. That's great.
Thanks. I enjoyed it too, and we hope you did too, Podsterons. But that brings us to the end of this week's
Space Fact. Yeah, there we are. Well, I'm liking this. So we have the 60s, 70s and 80s. So hopefully next week, if I'm a bit tidy with my fab shouting, then we might get the 90s.
Yeah, see how we go.
How interesting.
We can but hope.
Yeah, indeed. Now, you're listening to the Gerry Anderson podcast. We're here for a little bit longer. We've got all the usual stuff. We've got the randomizer coming up later. A lovely archive interview with Christine Glanville that I don't think we've mentioned yet, James.
No, we forgot because we were just so excited about it.
Yeah.
So yes, Christine, who was one of the puppeteers from the very, very early days, from Twizzle, in fact.
Yep.
And she worked with Dad right through past Space Precinct into the 90s, doing TV adverts and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
And then she very sadly passed away in the mid-late 90s from complications to do with diabetes. Very, very sad.
Yes.
But she was brilliant, and she was always so kind to me. It's actually been really lovely discovering this and hearing her voice again, because she had a very distinctive way of speaking, didn't she?
Yeah, she did, yeah. How lovely. Yes, I look forward to hearing that. In the meantime, people have been getting in touch as well via email. They've been emailing podcast@gerryanderson.co.uk. For example, Nigel Smith, who introduces himself as the chocolate inflatable digestive man. And if you've been watching Fab Live, you will know exactly who he is, and I shall say no more. But he got in touch to say in 1989, Ed Bishop was reunited with Shane Rimmer and another Anderson actor, Matt Zimmerman, in the BBC Radio 4 adaptation of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's A Study in Scarlet. That would be good to find, he says. Well, that sounds interesting, doesn't it?
I have a feeling there was a little clip of that in Chris Dale's Beyond Anderson episode, all about Shane Rimmer, I think. Or maybe the Ed Bishop episode. I'm sure it's in one of them. There's definitely a clip. So if you're looking for that, then maybe Chris can assist in helping you find it.
Lovely. And also, in the meantime, I think it's Simpsons Clips 24, but I'm not entirely sure because he seems to email in and post under various guises and names. But anyway, they got in touch to say, sometime after I'd met Rodney Matthews, I discovered that back in the early 2000s, in between Lavender Castle and New Captain Scarlet, Rodney, Gerry, and an American screenwriter called Marco Palmer worked on a concept for a stop-motion children's sci-fi series named Stanley and Livingston. He says, unfortunately, Anderson, Matthews and Palmer couldn't find the funding to get the series off the ground, so it was scrapped. But with you two carrying on Gerry's legacy, maybe it could still happen. So what's the news on that, Jamie?
Well, Rodney's got all sorts of ideas, and he and I have talked about various things.
Yeah.
Just one of many potential opportunities. I mean, it's really difficult because something like Lavender Castle, although at the time it was outrating Rugrats, which was massively popular on the BBC.
Yes.
And they were up against each other. You know, overall, it cannot be said to have been a commercial success, and certainly not one of the most commercially successful Anderson shows. So that automatically makes it a harder sell.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult. But Rodney's stuff is so beautiful, and Lavender Castle is so cute. You never know. Maybe in the future there might be an opportunity.
Great. Well, that's very nice. Yes, so thanks for getting in touch there. People are also tweeting us, of course. They're hashtagging us Gerry Anderson Podcast, tagging I'm Jamie Anderson or me, Richard N. James. For example, Megan got in touch about the random places to listen to the podcast. I think we had someone last week saying they were listening to it in a hospital waiting for their gran. Well, Megan said she was standing in line at the Weta Workshop for the Thunderbirds Our Go Tour in February 2019, listening to the Gerry Anderson Podcast.
Excellent. You and your Wetter.
Really?
Yes.
I thought I'll get it right this time.
Yeah, no, it's definitely Wetter. I wonder if she was listening on Spotify.
Oh, yes, maybe. Listening on her mobile, perhaps. Anyway. Yeah, great.
Shadow Mobile. Right, before we make any more faux pas,
yes?
shall we just get on with some Gerry Anderson news, Richard?
Oh, of course. Yes, let's have the news.
It is the newsy
News.
Good. And this week it has a very Captain Black theme to it, doesn't it? Because it is the end now of our Captain Black Friday weekend.
Yeah.
Today is technically known as Cyber Monday. I don't know why. I suppose is that the day when shoppers start going online to buy stuff. But anyway, it is the absolute last day today of our Captain Black Friday event. You can save up to 50% on nearly 200 items across the Gerry Anderson store. There are daily deals, as I've already mentioned. The Lost Worlds of Gerry Anderson is today's daily deal. There is also the Captain Scarlet audio from Big Finish, the £50 box set, which you can get for $19.99.
Crikey!
Unless it's sold out by this point, which it may well have done.
Yeah.
But do pop along. Just go to the Gerry Anderson store, shop.gerryanderson.co.uk, and there's a link on the front page there on the menu for Captain Black Friday. You can see the full collection, look through by product, look through by show. Don't miss out. Ends 23:59 tonight. That's 11:59 p.m. GMT, or whatever it's called now.
Yes.
UTC? I don't know.
How dare you?
It's also, because it's the end of Captain Black Friday weekend, it is also the last day for you to join Spectrum or the Mysterons, or both, in the T-shirt battle face-off. Captain Scarlet is facing off against Captain Black only until the end of today. Now the winner will stay on and will go on to other things, probably go on to a nice mug perhaps, or onto a hoodie. The loser, it will be terminated, obliterated, removed, never to return. So it's quite a difficult one then, isn't it? You might think, I'll get the Scarlet one, but then what if Captain Black loses and then that's a limited edition? And then, I mean, I'm afraid I had to get both.
Yeah, well, that's the answer, isn't it, I suppose?
It is, it is. Now, Richard, tonight, 2nd of December, if you're listening on the day of release.
Oh, yes.
You and I are doing something rather special, aren't we?
We are, aren't we?
So tonight, the 2nd of December, is our Fab Live Christmas special with several mystery guests.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
We'll also be giving out some Christmas presents, some prizes. So join us if you would like to win some goodies and get some bits and pieces before Christmas.
Yep.
And it is also most likely our last Fab Live until February 2020 because there's a hiatus ordered by Michael Grade himself He feels that we need to rest the brand.
I think he might be right.
Yeah. So do join us or miss out.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
There's a bunch of new stuff in the Gerry Anderson store. Woolly hats featuring emblems from your favourite organisations: Spectrum, Shadow, Moonbase Alpha, International Rescue and WASP, and probably more. Loads of stuff coming up. And some rather nice 1999 stuff, including some rucksacks and laptop cases, which I think look pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, great.
Yeah. So, if it is indeed right now when you're listening, Monday the 2nd of December, then go and grab yourself a bargain. Please, be quick. Don't miss out. Today's deal, The Lost Worlds of Gerry Anderson, may well have sold out by now, but if not and you haven't got it, it's great. It's got Space Police, it's got The Investigator, it's got The Day After Tomorrow. And in fact, funnily enough, there's a primer out this weekend, Richard, which you may have seen.
Yeah. Right.
Chris Dale was going to do a Lost Worlds primer about all the pilots that never made it and all that sort of stuff. But he got so into The Investigator.
Yeah.
The Investigator now has its very own primer.
Who'd have
thought? So, if you're not in the mood for shopping, but you are in the mood for a Gerry Anderson curio, then pop along to youtube.com/Gerry Anderson TV and check out the latest primer on The Investigator.
Yes.
And that, I'm pretty sure, brings us to the very end of this week's Gerry Anderson News.
That was the news! That was the news!
Beautiful. Have you been rehearsing something?
I have spent all day rehearsing that, actually.
Your voice. So what have you been rehearsing, Richard?
What have I been rehearsing? Actually, I've spent all week in a rehearsal room with Nigel Planer.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
Well, we're performing Grandpa's Great Escape over Christmas and the New Year in various arenas up and down the UK. And rehearsal started this week, and it's all very exciting. And it's going to be amazing. Got a life-size Spitfire, a tank that rolls onto the stage at one point. It's going to be extraordinary.
Watch out for that.
Yeah, I will watch out for it. Yeah, mind your foot. So yes, do come and join me if you can between the 23rd of December and the 4th of January. Quite a short run up and down the country. Yeah, fun.
I'm excited. Where's my invite?
Anyway, let's move on to some news from some of our Facebook group groupies, I was about to call them, shall I? Now, for example,
groupies.
Jonathan Westall is wondering if any fans are going to Wales Comic Con this year because he'd love to meet you all. Robert Monk went to his mum's and dug out his Pro-Set Thunderbirds cards. He's only missing 2 out of the 100, he says. And finally, Abby says, OK, right now, I'm so sad that Fab Worlds is done for this year, and I'm eagerly waiting for an announcement whether it's happening next year. So in the meantime, post some of your best memories from Fab Worlds or a Gerry Anderson convention below, she said on the Facebook group. And I'm going to follow that up by saying, why not send in some memories to podcast@gerryanderson.co.uk? So, did you ever get to a Gerry Anderson convention? Were you at Andercon? Were you at Fab Worlds this year in Leicester? Let us know. Who did you meet? What did you talk about? What did you get up to? And what was your experience of going to a convention? Send it in to podcast@gerryanderson.co.uk and we'll try and read them out next time.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
Do you know something else I can't wait for?
What's that, Jamie?
Well, it's actually 2 things. One is to hear the winner of the last one of this, and the other thing is to hear the next one of this upcoming feature, which is...
It's the plot of Peril! Now,
Ooh.
Here I got my rather gleaming plot device standing by and ready, but in the meantime I'm just going to read out a couple of entries from our last plot of Peril, which I think was in sort of pod 73, 74, something like that. Anyway, the 3 things I gave you were Zelda of Guck, a pair of tweezers, and San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge. Simon Allen posted on Facebook, Earth has been conquered and its inhabitants enslaved. There are many burning cities on the planet, but some, like San Francisco, are still intact. The planet is ruled by Zelda of Guck, but is she happy? No. Sitting on her throne near the Golden Gate Bridge, she thinks there's no purpose to her existence. Before, there was confrontation and conflict, but now, nothing. Of course, she could move on to another planet, but how far away would that be, and where could she replace all her pets she's lost already? Then, she has an idea. It may seem mad, but she must go back in time and start again, using the Time Wave Express Zoom Rectifying System, tweezers for short. She goes back in time just as her forces arrive on Mars. However, an overload forms in the tweezers, and there is an explosion. Bam, bam, bam. Little sense of to be continued there, I think.
There is. Yeah, what's part 2?
Yeah. And very quickly, Tom Hodden also posted, Zelda's latest monster is stomping around San Francisco. The Terrorhawks can't stop it with lasers, but Father Unwin, recording his latest rap album with stewed apples, soothes the raging beast by borrowing some tweezers to pluck a thorn from the monster's paw. Perfect.
Oh, that's
But
sweet.
I have to say, the winner for this week, for sending in a fantastic audio file containing some wonderful impressions of all your favourite characters. It's Mark Simpson Wedge. Have a listen to this.
Mother, the Zeefs have been launched and are flying towards the accursed Space Hawk.
Excellent. With the Space Hawk occupied, we shall have a safe journey to Earth.
But Mother, why are we using the shark? We always use the rhino when we go to Earth.
True, young star. But for this mission, we shall be approaching our target from the ocean, not the skies.
I don't understand.
Look into the crystal, and you shall see our destination. The Golden Gate Bridge in the city the Earth scum call San Francisco.
It doesn't look golden to me. It looks like it's red.
Be quiet, you mechanical moron!
Ooh, sorry, Mother.
This bridge is one of many important complexes on Earth, and I intend to destroy it with this device that we salvaged from the planet Magneton.
You mean those tweezers? But Mother, I don't see how tweezers can destroy a giant bridge.
These are no ordinary tweezers, young star. They have a powerful magnetic grip. They can pick up or grapple any metallic object, no matter how small or how heavy they are.
Ooh.
With these tweezers, I can disassemble the Golden Gate Bridge. It will get weaker and weaker, forcing it to collapse into the sea. Then we shall send a message to the accursed Terrorhawks, telling them that if the clone Neinstein does not surrender in 24 hours...
We will use the tweezers to destroy another famous building on Earth.
Exactly, my son. Victory will soon be ours.
What do you think of that?
Lovely. Nice work. I mean, you've clearly gone to a little bit of trouble there.
Just a bit. Mind you, he did have 2 or 3 weeks, which, obviously helped.
That is true, yes.
But thank you, Mark.
This is why we give them extra time.
Indeed. You are this week's winner of the Plot of Peril. You get nothing except, the pride of owning that title for a few weeks.
Yeah.
Now, I'm now going to reveal this week's Plot of Peril using the plot device. I'm going to give you a character from the Gerry Anderson universe. I'm going to give you a random everyday object and a location, and it's up to you to send me a Gerry Anderson style plot lasting, no more than 30 seconds. You can write it on our Facebook group, you can tweet it, hashtag it Plot of Peril, and I'll see it there. Or, as Mark did, you can even create your own mini-adventure audio file and send it into podcast@gerryanderson.co.uk. So, are you ready? Here is your Anderson character. Oh, Father Unwin's gardener and fellow secret agent, Matthew Harding. Here's your random everyday object. A roll of cling film. And finally, your location is... the Mars Chocolate Factory near Slough. There we are. So, can you devise a Gerry Anderson-style plot using Father Unwin's gardener, Matthew Harding, a roll of cling film, and the Mars Chocolate Factory near Slough? Let's give them a couple of weeks again, shall we? So we say until pod 80?
Let's say pod 80. Perfect.
We'll reveal the best ones then. So, Podsterons to work.
Lovely, Richard. It's really nice to have a bit of creativity coming from the community. So thank
really
you
is.
to all of you for putting the effort in there. It's
Exactly.
really lovely to hear.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Now we are zooming back in time now, Richard,
Oh, good.
to 1991,
Right.
when an interview was undertaken with the rather marvellous Christine Glanville,
Lovely.
best known as one of the lead puppeteers on Thunderbirds, but she goes back as far as Twizzle and as far forward as Space Precinct and a little bit beyond. Obviously, this was recorded in 91, so it was pre-Space Precinct.
Yeah.
But this is going to go over several parts because it's a really lovely long interview and we want you to enjoy Christine's wonderful storytelling and expertise
Great.
and her brilliant voice. So here is Christine Glanville discussing her very early years and how she got involved with AP Films.
Right. If I could begin by asking you what your particular interests were as a child.
Well, it was usually something to do with the art. I used to make peep shows, sort of little theatrical scenes in shoe boxes, the hole in the front and coloured tissue paper on the top.
Yeah. With little people?
With little people, yes.
But were they
No,
on
they
strings
didn't work. No, they were just cut out.
Just cutouts.
But it just used to look beautiful as you look through, hopefully.
Because when talking to Gerry, I found that as a young child he had a very vivid imagination. And obviously that contributed to what was to come in later years.
Yes.
Do you think that was the case with you?
I don't know particularly. I mean, I think I was an only child, and I think lots of only children, they have imaginary playmates, and I had my quota of those. Not that I was ever deprived of friends. I mean, the house used to be crawling with children, But I don't know that I particularly had a vivid imagination. Particularly, I didn't write stories or anything of that sort. But I did used to draw a lot.
So when did you decide that art college was for you?
Well, you see, I can't do anything else, so there was no choice. It was art college or, I don't know, going on the streets probably.
So what did you study?
Well, it was just at the beginning of the war, in fact. And so I went to an art school for about a year. Then I was evacuated because I was young enough for that. I went particularly early. I went at 14 when you should have been 16 in those days. Because I was, considered to be rather good. So I was still young enough to be evacuated. So I was evacuated. Then I came back again. Then I went, by this time, the art teachers had been called up. So I went to try another art school. It was still open. And went there for a year. Then I went to, when I say I didn't think it was very good, my parents seemed to think that I wasn't getting a good enough grounding in drawing. And so they took me away from there. And we evacuated again up to Halifax, which is my hometown, where I was born, I should say. And I went to the art school there, and that was a very good art school. And I sort of had a pretty good grounding then in anatomy and life drawing and this sort of thing. Well, then my father got a bit ill, so we came home again. And I went then to Toynbee Hall, which was in the East End of London. And it used to be just opened at the weekends. That was brilliant. And I learnt as much there as I've ever learnt anywhere. And so you can see it was quite a hodgepodge but education, because that was the war, you see. And I was lucky to get it. And I went into the ATS and I did art all the way through my war service.
Whereabouts were you posted? Where were you station?
Well, Elstree, for one place, the film industry had been there. So there was we were stationed in the studios, and used to eat in the set that was Jamaica Inn. You remember? I've forgotten who was in it now, but anyway, which I quite like the idea of. There was a man at in the educational department there, and he offered me a job in the film industry when the war was over. But I didn't follow it up, but I ended up in the film industry anyway, so it looked as if fate said that was the way I had to go.
Yeah.
And then, so after that, I was posted to Didcot, and then I got a job there doing army exhibitions, working directly under a general. There was a group of us, in fact, 5, and we built army exhibitions and used to take those up and down the country. I mean, I had a very weird war effort as well, I mean, apart from my hot training. And then from there, Olympia, and this little group built at Olympia the demob centre, where we made it like as it were like a shop. Then I went also to Croydon, and we built an African village on a car park in Croydon, and all this was we were attached to the part of the army that does supplies, and they didn't get any publicity. So this general thought he'd put these exhibitions on to show the public what this department of the army did during the war. We built Burma jungles and all sorts, and used to travel them around. So that was my war effort.
So after that, did you not go to a puppet theatre in Chiswick?
Yes.
Is that what happened next?
Yes. Well, then we went. I came out of the army, and of course I had the idea of being a commercial artist, but newspapers and magazines were only up to 5 pages, and all the original employees were coming back, and they were guaranteed their jobs back. So it was virtually impossible for a young one like me without any experience to get a job. In the meantime, my mother and father had become interested in puppets, and they had got to know somebody who had a puppet theatre in Chiswick. And so I started there, and that was really the beginning of it all.
So the interest really came from your parents?
Yes.
And so what happened then? You joined the theatre?
I realised that, well, I mean, it was a professional theatre, although they didn't make much money. But I realised there was a lot more to it than I had previously thought, because my parents were amateurs. And so I stayed with them for about 2 years, and that was, one of the best things that I could have done, because the puppets were wonderful, and the man was a professional sculptor anyway. His wife was a brilliant operator, and working with these puppets and doing plays and variety and all sorts of things of that kind. It was a very, very good training, and they were called the Ebor marionettes, and it was run by John Bickerdike and his wife Dot. And I mean, all of this has stood me in very good stead, because I think she was one of the best operators that there was at the time. And then I sort of started making, because I used to argue with my father that he wasn't doing them right. He said, "Oh, well, if you could think you could do them better, go ahead." And so I did, and I did do them better than his. And so he gave up, and I got a series of puppets together, and I mean, that's not much. You can't have them hanging around on the from the picture rail. You've got to use them. So I started doing children's shows, which is not my meter, but anyway. I did, gradually from small beginnings like that. Finished up with Gerry Anderson, didn't I? But,
So how did you end up meeting him?
Jerry?
Yeah.
Well, there was a friend of mine that I got to know through the puppets.
Yeah.
And she worked normally with her sister, but her sister had got married by this time and used to work with her husband. So whenever this girl, Joy Laurie, wanted an assistant, she'd bring me up if I hadn't got anything on. Then she used to employ me. Well, Gerry got in touch with her because she had done television work, and so it was her job because of her experience. Jerry got her, and she had to have some assistance, so she got me.
So roughly what year are we talking about?
Well, it'll be in the episode guide that you.
Which?
Well, the beginning, the Twizzle.
So you started with Twizzle.
Yes. So that was
57.
Yes, 57.
Right.
57.
Well, those puppets were fairly basic, or what?
Well, they were quite good, at the time. But of course, the thing is that although this girl had worked on television, all puppets in those days were like stage puppets. So they didn't take so much into consideration close-ups, how close the camera is, in fact, to the puppet. So therefore, they were not as well finished off, because they didn't have to be. In fact, they were better to be not as well finished off for the stage, to have them broader, just sitting about 40 foot away. You don't see all these sort of little subtleties in carving and that sort of thing that you do when you're on television or on the screen anyway. So, when you say that they were basic, they were stage puppets. They weren't basic puppets, but they were stage puppets. And that is the difference.
Right. So, am I right in saying that you were based for the work on the River Thames? Is that big house on the Thames?
Yes.
Yes. I have a picture of it, yeah.
Yes, that's right. Still there.
They used to get flooded there, didn't you?
Yes. The floods loomed very large.
So, what did you have a title when you were working there?
No. Well, no, I don't think so. Just sort of assistant to Joy Laurie, really. These two rooms, these two big bays, that was the studio.
Well, that's the ballroom, is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
A cousin of mine has got a movie that she took. My parents used to come down for holidays, and they brought this movie camera, and they've got some groups of us all standing on the parapet, sort of working the puppets, these puppets.
Yeah. So, did you do everything in one room, or was it just studio in the ballroom and?
Well, they had various offices and cutting rooms upstairs,
Yeah.
and they had a greenhouse, which was the workshop, and I think another greenhouse. I think Bob will tell you this more, because he was there as well. But it was sort of scenery store.
So where were you situated? Where did you make?
Oh, at my house. When I didn't make these, Joy made these puppets on Twizzle, but when it got to the next one, where Joy wasn't working on that because her mother got ill, so I took over her job. And so we made the next lot, which was Torchy. They were made at my house at home in our garage.
Really?
Yes.
So, were these puppets any more advanced from
Well,
the
I think
twizzle?
it's sort of, yes. I think that they. Well, I like to think. Well, perhaps better not say it. Well, I'll say it. I like to think I was a rather better puppet maker than Joy Laurie, mainly because of the training I had with this absolutely super sculptor. But they did work better.
So you were in charge of
Yes.
producing the puppets?
Yes.
And were they moving away from stage puppets here?
Yes. Gradually.
So more detail?
Well, I think if you look at this head as opposed to this one of Twizzle.
Yeah.
See that one of Twizzle.
Yeah.
I think that is a sort of a better finished off head, and these here there's the smoothness of them. They're sort of generally a lot better.
Right.
Albeit that they were still made of plastic wood. This one was made of papier-mâché. But anyway, they were made in our garage, and my father did the basic cutting out of the wood, and I did the finishing off. And my mother dressed them in the kitchen, and so it was still a bit like a pleasant Sunday afternoon in the workshop.
And what about the lips? Did the eyes had to move?
The eyes did move, yes. And the lips moved, and we worked them with our thumbs.
Right.
It wasn't electronic or anything. But it was during this series that Gerry had the idea of using sort of automatic lip sync. Yes. And the two puppets were made to try this out. And I don't think there's any photographs here of them. There were two little characters that were nothing particular. No. Just sort of unimportant characters, just to try this out. And Gerry had a sort of machine made, sort of primitive sort of lip sync machine. And it did work. And I mean, we had to find something to cover in the gap between the lip and the chin. And so we didn't think of leather to begin with. We were thinking of in terms of very, very thin rubber, and we couldn't get any thin enough, except the obvious condoms, you see. And my father was sort of he was a retired man in those days, and going round Maidenhead to all these shops, you see, buying loads of condoms, you know.
And that's what you used?
Yes, on those. But of course, it wasn't right, because you couldn't paint that rubber, it cracked off, you see, and then in the end, I mean, we used it for this test, but in the end, you know, sort of came up with, under the who thought of leather, use that for the others.
So when you started in this process of using puppets on television, did you feel that you were pioneering, going in a new direction, taking puppets to new extremes?
Yes, I think it did begin to dawn on us, because, can I put this down here?
Sure.
It's covering up my mic.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right. It did begin to dawn on us. I mean, in the old days, with any puppet shows, I mean, good as they were at the time, like Mutt and the Mule, which was very popular, they were filming stage shows. The film technique wasn't thought of at all. Now, Gerry is a film man, and so he thought of everything in terms of how you do it if you were making a film. This was the difference, and this is what we were learning. A film technique. I mean, all the cuts and the close-ups, it was just as you would do it in a feature film. And this is where we were improving, the sort of puppet shows on film. Yes, we were very conscious of that.
Oh, how lovely to hear from Christine again.
Yeah, I really do miss Christine. I mean, there are lots of people across the Anderverse who have been incredibly kind to me, right through from childhood onward.
Yeah.
I mean, Christine, absolutely one of the kindest and most amazing people I was lucky enough to meet and spend a lot of time with.
Yeah.
She even babysat for me occasionally. And I'd sort of I can remember quite clearly her being in her house and all the amazing bits and pieces around the place. And in fact, when I was there as a kid, she was rebuilding a Scott Tracy from all original parts, which she'd kept.
Wow, lovely.
So yeah, it was really nice to hear. Actually slightly emotional to hear her voice.
That's right. I know. A lovely, lovely lady. I mean, I have to say, when I started work on Space Precinct, I wasn't really that up in sort of Gerry Anderson lore, really. I didn't really have that much of an idea how central she had been to the whole story. If I'd known then what I know now, I would have sat down with her every day, I think, and got a different story out of her every day, I'm sure. But
Yeah. Well, it's the same, really, because I was 9, 10 years old then, and I spent all my time sat between her and Richard Gregory on the bench. And now both gone, and it makes you think, I just wish I'd spent more time and got more information from them, more stories and stuff. But we're very lucky to have archive stuff like this. So
you're right. Yes.
More to come in the next few weeks from the lovely Christine Glanville. We hope you enjoyed that.
Yeah, great.
And a bit of a reflection coming up, possibly on a show that Christine will have worked on in Chris Dale's Marvellous Randomizer, isn't there, Richard?
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, let's, should we have a listen and find out?
Yeah, let's go straight into that. Here's Chris.
That's it, chaps, nearly there. Almost, once more. That's it, got her. Oh, are you alright, Marina? Yep, easy. Yeah, we got you. Oh, sorry you had to spend a week down that well. What's that? Oh, you brought the randomizer back up with you. Oh, good girl, What? There's somebody else following you up the rope? 2 someones.
Stay right where you are.
Oh no, it's the invaders. In colour.
If you move, we shall kill you.
Oh no, not the invaders. They're really, really scary, and their plans always succeed brilliantly. What is it this time, Mr. Invader? Taking over the world, I suppose?
Indeed. They will never expect an invasion from beneath the ground.
Of course not. No, it's a very good plan. Since we're your captives, shouldn't we maybe put our hands up?
Okay.
Right, okay. Davidson, Clark, do as the nice man with the gun says.
It's gone! Ha!
Oh, it'll mean you letting go of the rope, of course. They don't get any better, do they? Well, Marina, now that we've saved the world once again, I think it's time we... Oh, you've already made the selection on the randomizer today, have you? Right, well, let's see what we've got. Oh, okay. Well, it's an episode of Fireball XL5 set somewhere where these two probably belong. Although I'm not going to go back down the well to fish them out again. Here's Space Pen. So it's time for some more Fireball XL5, and straight away we're confronted with one of those interesting Fireball model designs. What basically looks like a plane with some rockets attached to it.
There she is, Kamachi. Oi.
Great.
And a couple of ne'er-do-wells piloting the thing.
As a pilot, you'd make a great plumber. We're closing fast.
I don't get it.
Space City must have picked us up.
As a pilot, you'd make a great plumber. I need that explained to me. And actually, this is an episode that I had on video as a kid. This was on volume 4 of the Fireball XL5 video range from ITC Home Video. It was my first exposure to the series, that tape, and I really regret getting rid of that tape because I watched it to death.
Yes, sir, but no buts about it. I'm
probably one of those, pieces of Gerry Anderson merchandise that I'm so nostalgic for, in the same way that I'm nostalgic for the, like my Matchbox Thunderbird 2 and things like that. But anyway, the space plane thing, piloted by the two obvious bad guys,
we still got time to make a run for
is heading straight for Space City.
Something. There's $1 million worth of isotopes down there for the taking, plus whatever else we can lay our hands on. We get ourselves blown to pieces. You just make with the flying, huh? And leave the brainwork to me.
Yeah, I thought you said my flying was like plumbing. I still don't understand that.
There you are, Lieutenant. The trouble with you is you've got no patience. Yes, sir. Stand by to explore.
Poor old 90.
Sure will do.
Poor old 90 getting criticised by Zero, and it's only, 2 minutes into the episode. Oh.
According to this, 2X4 isn't due for another 2 days.
So they have a board with details of all the incoming and outgoing spacecraft.
Yes, sir.
Which isn't on a screen, it is on a board that has to descend from the ceiling and then be lit up. It looks very primitive. It doesn't also look like it'd be much use in any given situation, considering you can't see at a glance what's happening, but I imagine that was only ever used in this episode.
Clear the line on tower apron. Thanks. Roger and out.
Who have we got on standby?
Colonel Zodiac, sir.
Because Colonel Zodiac and the Fireball crew seem to be the only people you have around to do anything in this show.
Steve, I sure like the new decor.
Thanks for your help, Venus. A woman's touch makes all the difference.
Also Steve has a new apartment. Okay. Oh.
Have you any idea where Matt?
Zuni's been helping out by lounging around, doing
For
nothing.
the apartment.
I'll get it.
It's my house after all. I probably should get used to answering my own door. Anyway, here comes Professor Matic with a whole pile of
Steve? Matthew?
Sure is.
tubes and electrical things and is he gonna make it? No, fell over.
I'm sure you'll agree, Steve, that no place is complete without its own burglar alarm.
And this is an episode that very heavily features Professor Matic in a sort of comedy sidekick type role, which I never quite
Promise you it'll stop.
I never quite sort of enjoyed with this show.
Well, yeah.
I like comedy Matt in small doses, but not necessarily to the point of it being like an entire subplot for the episode.
Okay, Matt, but no dramas.
Anyway, Matt's setting up a burglar alarm. This is the first of 2 subplots for Matt in this episode, because one wasn't enough. And of course he's making a bit of a mess of it. He's even keeping Zuni awake. Oh, no. Okay, in the next shot, it fades to a shot of Zuni with a pillow over his head. Okay. That was funny from Zuni. That was very understated as well, because it was only briefly seen and in the background, but that was clever.
Now, open the door, Steve.
Are you sure it's going to work, Professor?
Of course.
Well, here goes.
Oh, is this going to explode on us? Opening the door, going to trip the alarm. Oh, exploded. Yep, exploded. I did remember it. Oh. And of course, Steve has got a face full of soot and debris. Oh, he even fell over.
Well, it seems I was using too much power.
It's a pity you didn't think of that before.
Oh, no, don't worry. I can soon fix it.
Made it.
Interestingly, this space plane thing, the 2X4, it's just come into land at Space City, and it's only got markings on the fin that say 2-4. That's interesting, isn't it? Tell me that's interesting. Tell me I'm not wasting my life doing this.
You open the door.
Now, just listen to this.
So Matt's fixed the burglar alarm. Open the door.
It works! Listen! It works!
Oh, he's jumping up and down with excitement. He's so happy.
Turn it off! Well, now, that's something I didn't work out.
Oh, poor old Zuni. He just wanted a nap. He's got the cushion back over his head again, though. Oh.
I'm trying to, but what can I do with all this noise?
I might have guessed what's going on.
Zuni's had enough. Oh, okay.
Well done, Zuni.
The professor sure gets...
So he just ripped out some cable, and that was all it needed. Okay, Zuni solved a problem. Zuni was useful for once.
This is World Space Patrol headquarters, not a circus.
Mark it in the calendar.
Steve, I'll have it in working order by tonight.
I don't care what you do with it, Matt. I wish I'd never seen it.
So on the surface, that would seem to be a bit of a time filler. However, as we pan across Space City at night, we see that our 2 friends from the space plane... By the way, this is a lovely pan across Space City, actually. Yep, The music is telling us that the plane is very sinister.
Let's make a move. Everybody will be asleep by now.
Yeah, I'll get the tools.
Because as we all know, people in military bases all go to sleep at the same time, leaving the control room completely unguarded. Well, apparently that's the case. Even the control tower is totally empty.
Colonel, Zodiac, astronaut, space patrol. Hey, a space patrol astronaut. Hey, think what we could do with his identification papers.
Hey, we weren't expecting to encounter a space patrol astronaut at Space City. Yeah, these guys seem to have this all sort of non-plan of just kind of stumbling around Space City, hoping they bump into interesting things to steal. Of course, they reckoned without Matt's new burglar alarm. Once we fix the lock.
Hurry, Al. She's ready to open. Just push.
Hey, Al. Do you reckon they have an alarm?
Nah, only on the main doors to the building, that's all.
Oh, doors opening. And the alarm broke.
What was that?
No idea. Come on.
So yeah, all of that fuss building the alarm system for nothing, because it didn't work. But it killed a few minutes. And they've spotted Steve's safe. Uh-oh. After a busy night's work, well, presumably they've helped themselves to, what was it they wanted? Didn't they mention something about isotopes as well? Well, they've taken off, they're gone. And so has the stuff from Steve's safe.
Commander, it's an emergency. You're not wearing your uniform.
Very observant, Lieutenant. What's the emergency?
I'm tracking a spaceship from here. It's heading for the planet Conva.
The prison planet. The space pen, so that's it.
My identification papers have been stolen, Commander.
And my uniform. But that's not half of it. The isotope store was raided. They cleaned the place out.
Why didn't they steal Steve's uniform as well as his papers while they were in his house? Why did they...
Fireball's ready. We could get after them.
They're headed for Conva, the space penitentiary.
Why did they go to Zero's quarters and steal his uniform? I mean, is there not like a supply stores or something that would be much easier to steal from than, I don't know, someone's house?
Well, there is one thing we could do.
Well, let's hear it.
Well, with Fireball ready to go, you could let us take off.
It's a brilliant plan, Steve. I'll let you take off. Yep, Fireball is now underway. This gorgeous Fireball launch sequence. And I can, ignore that shadow of the smoke plume.
Space Patrol units. Top priority call. Dangerous criminals have stolen Fireball XL5. Intercept and destroy. Intercept and destroy.
Oh, so that's the plan. Make Fireball look like it's been hijacked by criminals. And of course, this episode we're now heading towards Conva.
Better known as the Space Pen, Venus.
Yeah, better known as the Space Pen. And this is one of the rare planets in the Fireball universe that actually... I don't think it appears again, but it is mentioned.
Doing well, I hope we can contact this General Shan.
More than once.
Monkey to gang leader.
I think it was mentioned in Convict in Space, which was either the episode made immediately before or after this one. On that Fireball tape I mentioned, it was immediately before this one.
Film in the movie library. He's been playing the part ever since.
Steve, the gravity on Conva is so low.
Anyway, in the second of our two Professor Matic comedy subplots for this episode, he has decided to dress and talk like a gangster.
All right, Muggsy. Going in now.
Because, it's not a serious situation or anything, it's just some criminals have stolen some vitally important paperwork and radioactive isotopes, and oh, by the way, there's been a prison riot overthrow thing on this planet Conva. The prisoners have taken over, and it's all good for comedy capers.
We'll simply be able to float down.
At least we don't need oxygen pills. There's plenty of air to breathe.
Did we think to check that before we stepped out? Because if we didn't, we really should have.
Oh. Get your hands up.
Want to play it tough, eh? Think you're smart?
Shut up. Okay, Al. Check the number. It's XL5, all right. Hey.
What, you had to walk... You had to walk up to XL5 and then turn round. Why are you... It's right there. Why did you have to get him to check it?
That's a good one, eh? Yeah.
Anyway, the XL5 crew just randomly bumped into the two criminals who stole all their stuff.
Gotta make sure. The boss wants to see you first.
Oh, the boss.
Get going.
Who could this be? And some more comedy antics. As Matt can't hang on the lower gravity. Everyone else is coping fine with it, but not Matt. And as I say, I think, one lot of comedy Matt would have been fine, but two was pushing it just a bit. Anyway, we're now at the space pen itself, which has been taken over by the inmates.
Where we keep the loot.
I thought we were going to see the president.
He lives here with his wife. He can't bear to be parted from the stuff.
Is this where all the loot's kept?
Yeah, but don't get no fancy ideas.
I wasn't. Just thinking you'll need a bigger place than this when me and my gang get started.
Well, Steve's enjoying playing the sort of gangster here.
And treat the boss and his lady with respect. They're bigger crooks than all of us put together.
Sure they are.
Boss and his wife, they sound very important. Who could they be?
Go and find the boss, Al. I'll watch them.
Just look at all this stuff, Steve. It must be worth millions and millions of dollars.
We'll have to try and get it back, but how?
There's the commander's uniform.
And my astronaut papers.
Hey.
Yeah, the commander's uniform and the astronaut papers, they don't seem as valuable as all the other jewels and treasures that are there.
Space spy.
Get those hands up. Now, what goes on?
Uh-oh.
They're not criminals, Kamarzi. This is Colonel Steve Zodiac of the Space Patrol.
Yep, so the boss and his wife were Boris and Griselda Space Spy, who had appeared in...
Deal with them. Show them what happened.
I'm not sure what number this episode was broadcast in, but I think this is the final appearance of theirs in production order.
Courageous, too.
Disgusting.
Out of, they'd previously appeared in Flying Zodiac, Spy in Space and Convict in Space, so they were well known to the XL5 crew by this point, which means that their plan of pretending they were criminals
out of this somehow.
I wish I could
was never going to work.
Nothing could be worse than this.
And of course, this is our first encounter with Boris and Griselda, or any of the recurring XL5 enemies on the randomizer.
Colonel Zodiac of the Space Patrol coming here.
You old toot. Can't you see it's the best
So they're very
happened?
I'm not sure what to make of Boris and Griselda, because they are just basically... They're just humans, I think. I think they're meant to be just humans. They're very, very ugly. Very naughty. And, yeah. That's about all you can say for them, really.
Nothing can save you now, Colonel Zodiac.
And it's interesting that as well as Boris and Griselda only making 4 appearances in XL5, I think the Subterrane's only made 4 appearances as well. So there was potentially room to do more with Boris and Griselda and the Subterranes, or even to create a few new recurring enemies for the XL5 crew, who have now been locked in a room, strapped to beds.
With this low gravity, we'll clear the place in no time.
Stop blabbing. We haven't got all day.
And Boris and Griselda are clearing out their loot and making a run for it, because I guess they think the World Space Patrol is going to come after them or something. Although our heroes aren't in any position to do anything at the moment.
Now steady, Venus. Don't give up hope. Okay, Al. Now.
Oh, turn the valve thingy, and in comes...
Listen, can you hear anything?
Sounds like water.
Yeah, I guess they're going to flood this place.
And we'll just drown. Oh, Steve.
You know what could help you in this situation? Oxygen pills. I mean, I know they're designed to help you breathe in space, but wouldn't they be of some help if you were going to be submerged? I mean, I know they wouldn't,
They
wouldn't last you for very long, but they would help for a little while.
for us.
And that's not a criticism of them because they're strapped down. They couldn't reach any oxygen pills anyway. I'm just wondering if that would work. If oxygen pills would help you survive underwater as well as in space. Oh, the room's filling up with water fast though.
What has happened to General Shan?
Oh yeah, General Shan. I may have waffled over any mention of him.
Let's get to the spaceship.
He was the guy, either he was the guy in charge of the space pen, or he is the guy coming to restore order to the space pen.
Hi, Steve Zodiac.
Put your hands up, both of you.
There he is.
You, start turning that wheel.
There's very obviously Paul Maxwell just doing another deep voice. Paul Maxwell is one of those actors, as good as he was, he could never disguise his voice all that well.
Show up soon. He won't be so big then.
Sorry to disappoint you, but your boss is making off with the loot.
General Shan, I can't figure out what his role in the story is. He's here to restore order, but I can't work out if he was meant to be the guy running the space pen and...
What are you waiting for?
Like the criminals took over while he was just out for an afternoon stroll or something.
Try harder.
Or if he's come here with, like full force to retake the space pen.
Stand by to get him out.
Yeah, I don't know. It does just feel like he was in charge and he went out for a walk one day and the prisoners took over the space pen and... Because the space pen really only amounts to about one building.
Be of assistance. I can handle this end now.
Yes, and we've got to stop Space Spy.
Yeah, come on, Matt.
Everything in order.
Well, evidently, General Shan being back is,
What is Boris doing?
he can handle the situation, so he says. I don't know.
Steve Zodiac is coming.
Zodiac? This is General Shan's doing. Prepare for takeoff.
Oh, everyone's scared of General Shan. He's apparently a really powerful force, considering he doesn't really do much. Boris and Griselda are hightailing it away from Conver in the SS Thor.
Oh, darn. We're just too late.
Which, of course, is their ship that we've seen in several previous episodes.
Fireball, and hurry!
And I always thought this was a rather cool design because it could disguise itself as what looked like an ordinary civilian ship, and then, once they lured in their victims, then the Thor would reveal its true colours, and it had like I vaguely remember it had like a mouth with teeth or something.
Range 2325.
Standing by with Interceptor 1.
Roger. Standing by to correct course.
And I am correct in referring to the SS Thor in the past tense because unfortunately this is its regrettable demise.
Fire one.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0 and go.
Oh, Jeff Tracy did it better. Oh, that's it. SS Thor has been hit. Falling back towards the planet and... gone. Of course, Boris and Griselda have survived.
You just wait, Steve Zodiac. Our day will come.
Oh, that rather odd sound effect brings us to the end of Space Pen. And, yeah, I'm fond of that one, but it's more for a nostalgia thing, as I said, of having the tape as a kid and watching it over and over and over. As an adult, yeah, the comedy Matt stuff that even as a kid I found a bit much is rather irritating here. And yeah, I'm not entirely clear about the scale of the prisoners taking over the space pen, because as I said, it only seems like one building. Managed by a guy who apparently just went off for a walk and came back and regained control very easily. So it's not great. It's okay. As a final appearance of Boris and Griselda, at least in production order, it's not even a great send off for them because they're only in the second half of it. So yeah, nostalgia for this one, but I'm not going to say that I'm blind to its faults.
Very dramatic, wasn't it?
What did you think of that, Mr. Space Spy?
That was fun. I'm going to go and watch that one, I think.
Really?
Yeah, if I can find it.
I'll happily lend you my copy of Fireball XL5.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's very sweet, but
yeah.
XL5 feels from a different era,
Yes.
whereas Stingray and certainly Thunderbirds onwards feel quite contemporary somehow. So it's really interesting in such a short time how much things change. But there we go.
Yeah,
Thank you,
great.
Chris, for another marvellous randomizer. If you have been inspired to go and watch Fireball XL5, and in particular Space Pen, then do let us know, podcast@gerryanderson.co.uk, because we'd love to hear your stories of how the randomizer or the podcast in general have inspired you to further investigate the marvellous worlds of Gerry Anderson.
Yeah, quite right too. And in the meantime, don't forget to subscribe to us on whichever platform you're listening to us on, rate us and review us if you'd be so kind, and share us with your friends so they can get to hear us too.
That would be marvellous. So, yes, if you are a first-time listener, as I said at the beginning of this podcast, if you've enjoyed it, then please do subscribe. It's just one click, very easy, and then you get us in your ears every week, whether you like it or not.
So if you're listening on a Monday, also, we'll see you tonight for Fab Live.
Yes, absolutely. So 7 o'clock.
That'll go well.
Who knows? Fingers crossed. But 7 o'clock from a secret location with special guests, either on Facebook, facebook.com/GerryAndersonOfficial, youtube.com/GerryAndersonTV, and Periscope, which you can get to via twitter.com/GerryAndersonTV, and also Twitch, twitch.tv/GerryAndersonTV. Goodness me, all the Gerry Anderson TVs.
Multimedia. Do
join us. And its final countdown, Captain Black Friday event, is ending today, if it's the 2nd of December when you're listening, so go to shop.gerryanderson.co.uk, grab yourself some bargains, because all the prices are going back up to normal at 11:59pm tonight.
You'll kick yourself. In the meantime, though, we'll see you next week for some more Gerry Anderson podcast stuff.
I'm looking forward to it already.
Hooray.
Stage 1 complete.
Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
Right, what are you doing now, Richard?
What am I doing now? Well, I'm going to have my dinner, of course. And then I'm going to have a look at my
lovely.
lines for rehearsal tomorrow. I've got a big scene tomorrow with Siobhan Redmond, no less. Have you heard of Siobhan Redmond?
Her of Rani and Big Finish fame.
That's right.
What else has she been in?
She's been in lots of theatre, she was telling me, but I'm sure she's done quite a few TV series in the 80s and 90s as well.
Yeah, I'm just very quickly going to look her up live, because she's got one of those faces.
Oh, she certainly has. And one of those voices.
Makes me think, right, yes.
Yes.
Oh, The Bill.
Sure. Who hasn't done The Bill?
Interesting. Well, not me.
Oh.
Catherine Tate Show.
Uh-huh.
Midsummer Murders.
Of course.
What else? Oh, Holby City. Yes. She was in Holby City for a couple of years, wasn't she? I remember her from that.
Go. Yeah.
Gosh.
So I'm spending the day with her tomorrow.
You're in
Got
great
her
company.
night.
And is she a Space Precinct fan, do we know?
I haven't broached the subject yet.
Okay, fine. Be interesting to find out who in the cast loves Gerry Anderson shows the most, and if there is a Space Precinct fan, maybe they'll ask you for an autograph.
Oh, who knows? I'll let you know.
Please do, and see if you can get Nigel Planer for the podcast, yeah?
I'll try my best.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.
Good luck rehearsing. Bye.
You have been listening to the Gerry Anderson Podcast. Wasn't it fun?